Good morning, grade twos. Today I'm reading, we're going to go back and reread Charlotte's Web. I'm going to read chapter 1 to you. I also have a link to the actual hard copy of the book. So if you want, you can go ahead and go back and reread it. Or you can follow along with the video and just listen to the video, minimize it, and follow along with the PDF copy of the book on my Google Classroom link. Or you can just sit back, relax, grab something really yummy to drink, maybe some hot chocolate with some marshmallows, and maybe your favorite warm blanket. This is my favorite blanket. Let me show you. Look at, can you guess why this might be Miss Villeneuve's favorite blanket? You grab your favorite blanket. I've got my favorite t-shirt on today too, nice and comfy, to read this book to you. And just listen and relax. I know we've read these chapters, but I want to read them to you again because it's been quite a while since we've read them. So, and this is one of my favorite storybooks ever. Just such a lovely story. So as I'm reading to you, just like on the questions listed for today's lesson on Google Classroom, I want you to think about the characters in the story when I'm reading this chapter. Okay, and I know we've talked about them. We've read this chapter, but just think about who the characters are in this chapter. Okay, so let's get started here. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Chapter 1, Before Breakfast. "Where's Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. "Out to the hog house," replied Mrs. Arabelle. "Some pigs were born last night." "I don't see why he needs an axe," continued Fern, who was only 8. "Well," said her mother, "one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything. So your father has decided to do away with it." "Do away with it?" shrieked Fern. "You mean kill it? Just because it's smaller than the others?" Mrs. Arabelle put a pitcher of cream on the table. "Don't yell, Fern," she said. "Your father is right. The pig would probably die anyway." Fern pushed a chair out of the way and ran outdoors. The grass was wet, and the earth smelt of springtime. Fern's sneakers were sopping by the time she caught up with her father. Here's their picture. I'll show you. "Please don't kill it," she sobbed. "It's unfair." Mr. Arabelle stopped walking. "Fern," he said gently, "you have to learn to control yourself." "Control myself?" yelled Fern. "This is a matter of life and death. And you talk about controlling myself?" Tears ran down her cheeks, and she took hold of the axe and tried to pull it out of her father's hand. "Fern," said Mr. Arabelle, "I know more about raising a litter of pigs than you do. A weakling makes trouble. Now run along." "But it's unfair," cried Fern. "The pig couldn't help being born small, could it? If I had been very small at birth, would you have killed me?" Mr. Arabelle smiled. "Certainly not," he said, looking down at his daughter with love. "But this is different. A little girl is one thing. A little runty pig is another. I see no difference," replied Fern, still hanging on to the axe. "This is the most terrible case of injustice I have ever heard of." A queer look came over John Arabelle's face. He seemed almost ready to cry himself. "All right," he said. "You go back to the house, and I will bring the runt when I come in. I will let you start it on a bottle like a baby. Then you'll see what trouble a pig can be." When Mr. Arabelle returned to the house half an hour later, he carried a carton under his arm. Fern was upstairs changing her sneakers. The kitchen table was set for breakfast, and the room smelt of coffee, bacon, damp plaster, and wood smoke from the stove. "Put it on her chair," said Mrs. Arabelle. Mr. Arabelle set the curtain down at Fern's place. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands and dried them on the roller towel. Fern came slowly down the stairs. Her eyes were red from crying. As she approached her chair, the carton wobbled, and there was a scratching noise. Fern looked at her father. Then she lifted the lid of the carton. There, inside, looking up at her, was the newborn pig. It was a white one. The morning light shone through its ears, turning them pink. "He's yours," said Mr. Arabelle, "saved from an untimely death. And may the good Lord forgive me for this foolishness." Fern couldn't take her eyes off the tiny pig. "Oh," she whispered, "oh, look at him. He's absolutely perfect." She closed the carton carefully. First she kissed her father, and then she kissed her mother. Then she opened the lid again, lifted the pig out, and held it against her cheek. At this moment her brother Avery came into the room. Avery was 10. He was heavily armed, with an air rifle in one hand, a wooden dagger in the other. "What's that?" he demanded. "What's Fern got?" "She's got a guest for breakfast," said Mrs. Arabelle. "Wash your hands and face, Avery." "Let's see it," said Avery, setting the gun down. "You call that miserable thing a pig?" That's a fine specimen of a pig. It's no bigger than a white rat." "Wash up and eat your breakfast, Avery," said his mother. "The school bus will be along in half an hour. Can I have a pig too, Pop?" asked Avery. "No, I only distribute pigs to early risers," said Mr. Arabelle. "Fern was up at daylight trying to rid the world of injustice. As a result, she now has a pig. A small one, to be sure, but nonetheless a pig. It just shows what can happen if a person gets out of bed promptly. Let's eat." But Fern couldn't eat until her pig had had a drink of milk. Mrs. Arabelle found the baby's nursing bottle and rubbed her nipple. She poured warm milk into the bottle. Picture of Avery. Fitted the nipple over the top and handed it to Fern. And here's a picture of Fern. Oops, sorry guys. Fern eating over. "Give him his breakfast," she said. A minute later, Fern was seated on the floor in the corner of the kitchen with her infant between her knees, teaching it to suck from the bottle. She said, "Grab your hot chocolate." Or maybe even like just some milk or some apple juice. Those are healthy things to have in the morning, definitely. Okay, let's get back to the book. The pig, although tiny, had good appetite and caught on quickly. The school bus honked from the road. "Run," commanded Mrs. Arabelle, taking the pig from Fern and slipping a donut into her hand. Avery grabbed his gun and another donut. The children ran out to the road and climbed into the bus. Fern took no notice of the others in the bus. She just sat and stared out of the window, thinking what a blissful world it was and how lucky she was to have entire charge of a pig. By the time the bus reached school, Fern had named her pet, selecting the most beautiful name she could think of. "Its name is Wilbur," she whispered to herself. She was still thinking about the pig when the teacher said, "Fern, what is the capital of Pennsylvania?" "Wilbur," replied Fern, dreamily. The pupils giggled, and Fern blushed. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 1, boys and girls. So I want you to think about the characters. We're not going to discuss it right now. I'm not going to say, who are the characters. Chapter 2, before I start reading chapter 2, I will tell you who the characters were. And I know you already know that, but I just want you to talk to your parents about who the characters are in chapter 1 so far.